Hello everyone, welcome back to Tony Sports Games for another tutorial video. Uh, Wanted to do this one on another request I got on the Wolverine Studios forum online. This is from TVO Tao asking about the cohesion factor. And of course, cohesion is a new layer added to the 2026 version of this game that wasn't there before. So I did want to do something on it earlier, but it was as new to me as it is to everyone else. So I wouldn't have really known what to say. Um, but let's just dive right into it. Let's go straight to the source. So let's click on any player, and if you go to their social tab, right here, this new column here is cohesion. This is a list of players that this player, Richard Edwards, my running quarterback for the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, it's a list of players that he has cohesion with. And if we hover over this information box, it pops up right here. Cohesion indicates how well players gel together. Cohesion simulates the trust you gain with teammates as you play with them. It allows a player to predict what action they may take next. That's talking about their teammate. If player Y can correctly predict what teammate X is going to do, this improves Y's performance. So one of the things, again, I love about Wolverine Studios, I love about Draft Day Sports, you have a sim-based sports game. I mean, it's a video game. A video game, also a sim-based game, and finding a way to inject some portion of the human element that's present in real sports. A great example of cohesion in real life, I always think about like high school, basketball playoffs, and you have a team with a lot of talent. They go and get whooped in the playoffs by, some farm town team of the same 7, 8, 10 guys have played together since they were in fourth grade, and none of them are going Division I, but they win. They go to the state championship game or whatever, or their high school wins their district, every year, because they always have the same group of guys that have played together since they were little kids. This is injecting something into a draft day sports game to try to mimic that in some way. Players gain and improve cohesion through playing together on the field and training together. The cohesion overview in view formation on the depth chart screen will give you an averages of these relations of the players for the depth chart. You can customize cohesion settings for your league in configuration. So let me just show you that real quick. If you go to your league settings and you go to league configuration, cohesion is on the rosters tab. And when you look down here, you have the option whether you want to enable cohesion or not. By default, all these are set at normal. For this playthrough, I really wanted to kind of embrace the change in the game, so I changed them to high, but they'll be normal normally. Now, the difficulty about explaining this is, or the part I don't completely understand is, how much better do players play with more cohesion, a lineup with more cohesion as opposed to less? That's really hard to say. There's a lot of other layers, secondary layers of this game also that give small boosts or nerfs to performances. So it would be really hard with that. You'd have to sandbox a lot of leagues and play the exact same lineups through with low cohesion, and then try to make one with the same players with medium cohesion, which would be hard to do because they build cohesion throughout the year as they play together. So there's already other secondary layers or elements to the game that give small boosts or nerfs to players' performances, like cohesion is another one. So it is a little difficult for me to say definitively this is exactly how much of a boost or nerf a player can get by having cohesion with a lot of other teammates. However, you can see, if I sort by class here, if you go to the social tab, if I look at all my freshmen, so all these guys have only played in the spring game. That's all they've done. And they've done training camp. So those are the only 2 times for freshmen so far to have built cohesion. So you can see some of these freshmen have 4 or 5 names. Some of them have none. They haven't built cohesion with anyone yet. If you go to maybe an older player, like maybe my starting quarterback who played a ton last year, he has a really huge list. He has a lot of teammates that have rotated onto the field with him at different times when he's taking snaps. Now, the part of this that I failed to read at the beginning is the last blurb over here where it says players gain and improve cohesion through playing together on the field. That part I had already seen, and training together. I didn't notice that when this first came out. So having players on the same training schedule as other players can also help them to build cohesion with each other. So since I'm playing this playthrough with cohesion effects turned on high, what I've gone ahead and done is I kind of revamped my training schedule, where instead of having everyone on a ton of different schedules to try to increase their optimal ratings that they're missing out on or that I think are most important for their position, I've kind of grouped these instead to based on guys' work ethic, either on 22 or 23 for offense, and then same thing for defense. Because I'm going to try to use this playthrough to try to build as much cohesion as possible. Now, where you can see how much cohesion you have is if you go to your depth chart screen and you look at a different package. You look at this package that I have. It's called 335 short. If I look at a formation view, it tells you at the top right here what level of cohesion this lineup has with each other. And all of my lineups are low except for this one right here. Obviously, I have a lot of freshmen and sophomores on this team because I cut a lot of people the first year when I started this playthrough. So if I look at this dime lineup and I look at what this lineup looks like in dime, I actually have cohesion medium. So by the end of last season, I had a couple different lineups that had reached medium cohesion. I haven't had any reach high yet, but that's something we're going to keep working on. So, and then again, one last thing here, just to clarify, for Richard Edwards, he gets a boost if any of these players are on the field. Okay, he does not give that to them. So when you're setting up your depth charts, you might wonder, well, should I just set up all my depth charts to maximize the highest amount of cohesion possible? I would say no, because you look at 11 players, trying to look at every single person on this list and then cross-reference it and try to maximize it. I think it's going to be a pretty impossible task. Plus, remember, this is a secondary aspect of the game. Your primary information you should use to make decisions on your depth charts and things like that should be on players' physical ratings. You should treat cohesion like you treat, positional skill, player social types, that type of thing. It's secondary. As you go through the season, your lineups will build cohesion naturally. I'd say one thing that could help you is doing as good a job as possible of setting up the lineups at the beginning of the season that are going to stay mostly the same throughout the year. So your skill as a player could come into this at the beginning of your season when you set up your depth charts. The fewer number of changes you have to make to your depth charts throughout a season will impact a bit, how much these different lineups gain cohesion. So, as far as what you have a control over or what you have control over as a player, I would say it's mostly just trying to do a good job at the beginning of the season when you set up your depth charts. After that, it's really just up to having guys play together. If you can have a lot of guys on similar training schedules, maybe not have every single different position group on a different training schedule, but maybe finding a way to lump some of those together. Those are things that are going to help you build cohesion as you go along. And how big of an impact it is, again, it's a secondary layer of the game. So it's going to help you take your teams from possibly good to great. It's going to help take you a little bit over the top, but I wouldn't set up your whole team just around cohesion as your primary kind of decision-making tool there. If you want to dig into cohesion a little bit, I would just look at who are your most key players on offense and defense when you set up your depth charts. Guys that are so much better than the other guys at their position group that there's just no way you can not have them on the field. Set those positions up first. Then perhaps, like for offense, I could look at my quarterback. So if my quarterback's going to be Greg Enriquez, maybe I could look at Greg and I could say, okay, I actually have a close decision, at center. I haven't set center up yet. So I'm going to look and see, which centers are on here. Who does he have the highest cohesion with? One or two key players on each side of the ball, your quarterback, maybe your running back if you're a run-heavy team, your number one receiver, on defense, maybe whoever your best linebacker is or your key pass rusher. Maybe when you set up your depth charts, you could look at just those players. And if there's a couple positions that are a really close call, then maybe cohesion could be something that could tip the scales in one player's favor over another. But that's how I'm working around it so far. Also, TVO Tau, I think he included a couple other questions on this one, perhaps going into overall roster management. Can you cycle in some underclassmen or developmental players to keep up morale, keep them happy, or keep them from transferring? Yes, you can do that. If you're someone that sets your red shirts at the beginning of the season so that you don't risk those guys getting in too many games, then you could consider taking those red shirts off maybe for 1 or 2 games in the middle of the year or towards the end of the year if they're at a position where you could sub them in and not lose too much team performance. You can do that. Obviously, you can also use your coach talks for that. You get a couple, I don't know if it's always the exact same amount, but you get 2, 3, 4 coach talks each week that you can use to try to increase morale if somebody's struggling with that. The way you can see who has low morale is if you go to your roster, look at personality, sort by morale, you can see who on the team has the lowest morale. And then if I had a coach talk, it's preseason so I don't, but I could use that to try to boost their morale. Also, yes, if you want to give them a little more playing time, a couple games in the year, to try to prevent them from transferring. If there's someone you don't really, you really don't want to transfer, maybe they're someone you don't really care about, in which case I wouldn't worry about it. Just let them make their decision. Hopefully this helped a little bit. Cohesion's new to all of us, so I'm still learning about it as well. Hopefully in another couple seasons of this playthrough, I'll have some lineups that have high cohesion, and I'll see some guys really overperforming what their physical ratings would say they could do, in which case that could give me a clue that cohesion is kicking in. But yeah, anyway, thanks for the question. Thanks for watching, and keep those questions coming. Discord, Wolverine Studios forum, reach out. More tutorials to come. Online League season preview to come, and of course we'll be back with the next season of the Ragin' Cajuns on the road to glory soon as well. So thanks everybody for watching once again, and as always, I will see you in the next video.